For the first time, the bomber is both a Palestinian and a citizen of Israel. In California,
These guys are fantastic.
workplace shooting leaves 4 dead. The heavily armed suspect is still at large. A new twist on welfare reform, moving the unemployed to jobs in other states, saving taxpayers millions of dollars. And Venus on her victory, an historic moment for women's tennis.
From ABC News, World Headquarters in New York, this is World News Tonight, Sunday.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Carol Simpson. In Israel, the work week began with a deadly wave of violence. 2 bombings, 1 attempted bombing, and a drive-by shooting claimed 7 lives. Worst was a suicide bomb attack in northern Israel. For the first time, the bomber was a Palestinian from within Israel, an Israeli citizen who killed himself and 3 others. ABC's Gillian Findlay reports from Jerusalem.
The bomber walked up to this train station just as a train was pulling in. He was carrying a large cardboard box. Everyone was pushing and shoving, this man says. I bumped him with my elbow. I said I was sorry. Then he blew himself up. Mohammed Saker Habeshi did not fit the profile of a suicide bomber. He was older, 55. He had a business and a family. And most shocking of all to Israelis, he was one of them, an Israeli citizen. But Habeshi was also an Islamic supporter. He once ran for mayor of his village on an Islamic ticket. 10 days ago, Israeli security forces sealed off Mr. Habeshi's home. They said they had information he was planning attacks on Israel. When they failed to find him, they say they asked the Palestinian Authority for help. The Palestinians deny it. Tonight on Israeli TV, the discussion was all about how to fight the enemy within. 1 million of Israel's citizens are Palestinians. Tensions have been growing for months. Palestinian leaders were quick to condemn today's bombing, but there are fears of more attacks. The bomber may have been from Israel, but Israel's government still holds Yasser Arafat responsible. Within hours, Israeli helicopters were firing in areas he controls. Earlier, Palestinian gunmen ambushed a busload of teachers on their way to an Israeli settlement. A few hours after that, another suicide bomber blew himself up on one of Israel's main highways. Tonight, Israel's cabinet approved a plan to yet again beef up security along Israel's border with the Palestinian Authority to prevent would-be bombers and gunmen from getting into Israel. What happened in Nahariya today was a reminder, however, that even the best security has limits, especially when the enemy does come from within. Gillian Findlay, ABC News, Jerusalem.
President Bush is facing increasing pressure to step up U.S. efforts to stop the bloodshed in Israel. ABC's Josh Gerstein has this report.
Sources tell ABC News President Bush and Palestinian leader Yasser Arafat may meet at the United Nations later this month. But White House officials stressed that the Palestinians would first have to stop militant groups from attacking Israelis.
We have, in fact, even received recently new assurances from the Palestinian Authority that they are trying to stop the violence. But we're waiting to see. We believe that they can do more and that they really do need to do more.
The Arab League, meeting in Cairo today, called on the U.S. to pressure Israel to stop retaliating against the Palestinians. Here at home, the Bush administration is being urged to send a high-level envoy to the region.
I will say that greater dialogue is essential. We've got to insert ourselves. We've got to pick up where we left off in the last administration.
We're seeing a slide here that is not going to self-correct. And another intense effort, concerted effort, led by the United States, I think is warranted.
The president has been told by Arab leaders that left unchecked, the conflict could undermine their governments and set off a dangerous wave of anti-American sentiment. But Mr. Bush and his team remain wary of a high-profile diplomatic effort that even advocates say is unlikely to succeed. Josh Gerstein, ABC News, the White House.
U.S. military aircraft today launched strikes at 3 Iraqi missile sites in Iraq's southern no-fly zone. All planes returned safely to their bases. There are no reports on whether they destroyed their intended targets. A former security guard is the target of a massive search in Sacramento, California. He is suspected of killing 4 people, including 3 former co-workers, just days after being suspended from his job. Here's ABC's David Wright.
In Sacramento, a manhunt for the second time in a month. The suspect, an ex-security guard who was suspended from his job last week. He allegedly shot and killed 4 people last night, including 3 former co-workers.
We want to make sure we get him off the street before anybody else is harmed.
20-year-old Joseph Ferguson is believed to be heavily armed and may be wearing a bulletproof vest. Police say he shot 2 female security guards at a city workyard. A short time later, 2 others were killed at a local marina.
We heard the rapid succession of, shots, and of course, you wonder what it is, and you're hoping it's just fireworks and stuff.
This new manhunt comes just 3 weeks after another Sacramento resident, Nikolai Soltis, killed 6 members of his family.
These 2 very tragic incidents right in a row is extremely unusual.
Police say Ferguson mentioned Soltis by name in the midst of the rampage when he telephoned several other co-workers and threatened to kill them.
Basically, he was going to outdo Soltis, something along those lines.
Tonight, as they did in the Soltis case, Sacramento police are warning those close to the alleged killer that they too could be potential targets. David Wright, ABC News.
People in Bermuda bracing for Hurricane Erin may be in luck. The first named hurricane of the 2001 Atlantic season will likely miss the island after all by about 75 miles. Erin is expected to break up over the ocean over the next couple of days and avoid the United States. Still ahead on World News Tonight this Sunday, trickle-down trouble in the service sector, 41 million jobs and dwindling. Modern China remembers Mao, but would he recognize his country today? And the work worth 1,000 words.
This is World News Tonight, Sunday. Brought to you by the Mitsubishi Lancer.
It's been 1 week that you looked at me, 'cause you heard the design that I'm angry. 5 days since you laughed at me, saying that you never come back and see me. Today, you've forgiven me, but it'll still be today till I say I'm sorry. Gonna make it like vanilla. It's the finest of the flavors. Gonna see the show 'cause I know the girl go is at my door and say the banger is your life to sign a waiver. I have a tendency to wear my mind on my sleeve. It's been 1 week since you looked at me, dropped your arms to the side and said I'm sorry.
What's as gentle as Senecot Natural Vegetable Laxatives? With 100% natural Senna, Senecot tablets offer overnight relief from occasional constipation gently. Senecot works gently, works overnight.
Wouldn't it be great if Bounty came in a box? Ta-da! Incredibly practical, practically invisible. New Bounty in a box. It's Bounty in a box.
In the old days, athlete's foot meant using Lotrimin AF or Tenactin for 4 whole weeks.
Who does that? Today, Lamisil AT kills the fungus with just 1 week's use.
And keeps you athlete's foot free for 3 months.
Lamisil AT, the best way to cure athlete's foot.
We consider breaking news in real time. Used to be you'd sit down for an evening newscast. Now there's an appetite for news any hour of the day because it can affect what you choose to do. That way they get the information and they still get the programming they count on K2.
The sharp rise in unemployment that sent stocks plunging Friday has highlighted the plight of manufacturing workers. But the latest jobless figures also spell bad news for the service sector, which many analysts consider the linchpin of the American economy. ABC's Steve Osinsami reports.
Those everyday jobs that have been on the increase for years are disappearing by the tens of thousands. The housekeepers, the waitresses, the service industry work most Americans do.
She looks great.
Guy Thompson runs an Atlanta catering company, is faced with fewer clients.
So we're all set and ready to go.
And is now putting intense pressure on his salespeople.
I just sent this out to all the staff folks. The last line is when the going gets tough, the tough get going. So you have to work harder.
Housekeeper? In the major cities, nearly a third of all hotel rooms are empty.
I think we're feeling the
the pinch of the business traveler. Business travel is down as a result of the corporate business being down, and we're feeling that.
Economists say it was only a matter of time before the troubles of corporate and manufacturing America trickled down to the service industry. More Americans in the country's largely service economy
And here we go.
are getting nervous,
If I have an empty table, I'm not making any money, so yes, it definitely affects me.
which means service industry workers, those who hold on to their jobs,
Please stay with us. Thank you.
are contributing less to the sputtering economy. Steve Osunsami, ABC News, Atlanta.
A novel but controversial solution to unemployment is taking hold in several states, including California. Tulare County is a region of fertile land that has fallen on hard times. Many workers rely on welfare, but as ABC's Judy Muller reports, some no longer have to.
For almost 10 years, Monty Connolly relied on welfare checks from Tulare County to support his family.
By the time I get out of here, start a new life for the family, take them with me.
And the county is helping him do that. It has a program called MOVE, which pays welfare recipients an average of $1,800 to relocate.
We're not getting rid of them. We're giving them opportunities. We're giving them great opportunities.
California's Central Valley is the richest food-producing region in the world, and yet it is one of the poorest areas of this country. Unemployment is 3 times the national average here, and in some communities as high as 50%. So far, the county has moved some 850 families to places where jobs are plentiful.
Reno, Las Vegas, gambling. Midwest is the meat packing.
Connolly took a job with a meatpacking plant in Nebraska after the MOVE program helped match them up. With a jobless rate still under 5% in many parts of the country, employers are scrambling to find entry-level workers. Some companies, including this Florida resort, are finding them in Tulare County. That's because most work here is seasonal and temporary. Celeste Sexton, her husband, and 4 children are planning to move to Colorado Springs with help from MOVE.
We're anxious to make a fresh start and knowing that there's greener pastures on the other side.
Since the program began 3 years ago, it has saved taxpayers more than $3 million. But at least one critic says exporting the poor is no solution, and that government would be better off investing in job training and business development.
If we don't have that type of attention and we don't have the type of investment, how do you break the cycle? You don't break the cycle by sending people to Arkansas to work in Motel 6.
MOVE officials say the relocation program was never intended as a solution to the area's overwhelming poverty.
It's a simple little idea of moving the workers where the jobs are.
So far, 85% of those relocated are still employed. And those are better odds than these families have seen in a long time. Judy Muller, ABC News, Visalia, California.
Still ahead, the Sister Act that made history.
Your eyes need nutrition as well as the rest of your body, so Centrum and Centrum Silver added lutein to help maintain your precious sight. Now your eyes, your toes, and everything in between are covered by Centrum and Centrum Silver. More complete from A to Zinc.
The rules for making money have changed. Pinstripes, wingtips, that's not how it works anymore. Anybody can be the next big wheel, as long as they put their money in a better place. Welcome to the new Old Boys Club. Less old, less boys. Morgan Stanley, move your money, get well connected.
Raising 3 boys, I don't always get to be the good guy.
What are you doing? Let's go. We are late.
But when I do get to lighten up, something as small as an accidental stain on me isn't going to ruin the fun.
It's okay.
For your tough stains, there's Tide Kick. Measure out Tide Deep Clean formula, treat your stains, toss it into wash. It eliminates more of your stains than any leading pre-treater and regular detergent combined. My guys are a handful, but I wouldn't trade them for the world. On the other hand...
Ryan!
Ouch! Pain again? I thought your dentist said brush with Sensodyne every day.
I stopped when the pain stopped.
Keep using it. It keeps working.
Sensodyne every day. Now try Sensodyne Tartar Control Plus Whitening every day.
The Heartburn Hotel.
If you suffer persistent heartburn 2 days a week or more, despite diet change and treatment, it may be acid reflux disease. Prescription Prevacid can mean 24-hour relief from acid reflux disease. Prevacid turns off tiny pumps that produce acid. It has a low occurrence of side effects, such as diarrhea, abdominal pain, and nausea. Ask your doctor if Prevacid is right for you.
So leave your heartburn behind.
Three more out of the park for Barry Bonds. The San Francisco Giants outfielder hit his 61st, 62nd, and 63rd home runs today. That breaks Roger Maris's record for most homers in a season by a left-handed hitter. Bonds needs 8 more to break the all-time home run record. A big loss for tennis great Pete Sampras tonight. 20-year-old Leighton Hewitt from Australia beat Sampras in 3 sets at the men's final at the U.S. Open. 7-6, 6-1, 6-1. For the women at Flushing Meadow last night, the first Grand Slam sister act since 1884, history was made. Venus Williams beat little sister Serena in 2 sets, 6-2, 6-4. It's the second straight U.S. Open title for Venus. ABC's Robin Roberts was there last night and spoke to the winner this afternoon at Arthur Ashe Stadium in Queens, New York.
Well, Carol, you felt like you were going to the Super Bowl last night or possibly a heavyweight fight. The Williams sisters final was a hotter ticket than the Broadway show The Producers last night. Lots of celebrities, pageantry. Really, you just had that big atmosphere feel. Now, earlier today, as you said, I did sit down with Venus Williams, and she told me this is her 4th career Grand Slam title, and it means less to her than the previous 4 because this one came at the expense of her little sister.
I always want Serena to win, so it's just a conflict of my interest if she can't win. There's no conflict of interest for her at all. She's much too competitive, actually. That's maybe her biggest downfall, being too competitive ever since she was a baby.
Robin, do you think this is going to be a turning point in women's tennis?
I think it will be, Carol. 23 million tuned in last night, the most watched program of Saturday night. And in recent years, women's tennis has gotten a higher rating on TV than men's tennis. And the American public is more familiar with the women's game. They can name the Williams sisters, Martina Hingis. They cannot name the top players in men's tennis. So I really feel that we saw a turning point here last night.
Thank you, Robin Roberts. More of Robin's interview with Venus Williams tomorrow on Good Morning America. Up next, China, 25 years after Mao.
I'm the bus lady. Some mornings I was so constipated I could hardly drive my kids to school. I felt bloated, all knotted up. But mornings now are different.
Good morning.
Thanks to new X-Lax Milk of Magnesia. It's gentle, stimulant-free, cramp-free, which means a good night's sleep. Plus that X-Lax guarantee of relief by 8 a.m., which means a good morning.
Max, great hat.
New X-Lax Milk of Magnesia with the X-Lax Good Morning Guarantee.
Real-time weather information. It's right at your fingertips when you use K2's WeatherBug.
You get a more accurate local forecast whenever you want it.
Get your direct link to instant weather conditions. Log on to KATU.com and download K2's WeatherBug.
Nature made it. Minwax makes it beautiful with rich wood stains and long-lasting protective finishes. Turning a house into a beautiful home is as easy as turning to Minwax.
Be adventurous. Be plugged in. Be involved. Be powerful. Be yourself. Because it's your choice, your voice, and your attitude. Today's AARP.
You go first. Make me. I think come on.
Being first is never easy. Will I make it? Will I be laughed at? Will it be worth it?
Come on.
Today marks the 25th anniversary of the death of Communist Chinese leader Mao Zedong, a man still remembered, still revered, as ABC's Mark Litke reports.
He was more than just a revolutionary hero. Mao was worshipped as a god, and millions were devastated when he died.
People simply burst into tears.
Sidney Shapiro was here then and remains today, an American who came to China after World War II and fell under Mao's spell.
I admire him.
Shapiro was inspired, as Chinese were, by Mao's promise of a better life. He had the touch with the common man.
People trusted him and they believed him because he spoke their language.
Today, Mao would not recognize the nation he founded, a country on a headlong rush to modernize, make money, and strut its stuff on the world stage. Communist in name only. But Mao himself still dominates China's heart and soul. There are long lines daily to view his embalmed body. Mao memorabilia and souvenirs seem almost timeless. The elderly say Mao delivered them from poverty and foreign domination. The young say he's a symbol of Chinese strength.
I think Mao is great.
At least that's what they're taught from their first days in school. Still, one of the great ironies in China today is that Mao should be so revered when, in fact, he was responsible for some of the most disastrous policies in modern Chinese history. The Great Leap Forward campaign that plunged the country into famine, killing more than 30 million. The fanatical Cultural Revolution, when millions more were persecuted and murdered. But subsequent leaders here knew that to purge Mao completely might call into question the legitimacy of the Communist Party itself. So they simply decreed that Mao was a great man who, like everyone else, made mistakes. And people accepted that.
Right or wrong, he was very sincere, trying desperately hard to improve the lot of the ordinary man.
But even more, Mao gave China something it craved, a sense of pride. Now, whether it's taking back Hong Kong from Britain, standing up to the U.S. over a spy plane, or winning the right to host the Olympic Games, Chinese feel the world is finally giving them more respect. Just as Mao proclaimed at the birth of the country, the people of China have stood up. Mark Litke, ABC News, Beijing.
When we come back, one man's window on the world.
The stock market. A year ago, it was how high is high. Now everyone's asking where's the bottom. Janice has gotten through tough times the same way we've gotten ahead, picking stocks one at a time, looking for opportunities for over 30 years. Janice is looking right now to be in the right place when a downturn turns into a better day. Get there. Janice Mutual Funds.
What's as gentle as Senecot natural vegetable laxatives? With 100% natural Senna, Senecot tablets offer overnight relief from occasional constipation gently. Senecot works gently, works overnight.
It's been 1 week since you looked at me, 'cause you heard the bizarre that I'm angry. 5 days since you laughed at me, saying, "Let's together, come back and see me." Yesterday, you've forgiven me, but it'll still be today till I say I'm sorry. Like vanilla, it's the finest of the flavors. Gonna see the show 'cause I know the dark goers at my door and the dangerous. You'll have to sign a waiver. I have a tendency to wear my mind on my sleeve. I had it's been 1 week since you looked at me. Dropped your arms to the side and said I'm sorry.
The long jump. The dash. Life is like a sport, and your feet take the impact hard. But new Stride Guard insoles absorb 50% more heel impact than these Dr. Scholl's. Take more impact in stride. New Stride Guard insoles.
Let the games begin. A whole new season. Monday Night Football. Giants versus Broncos.
Incoming!
And an all-new Millionaire Sports Edition. Gordon, Elway, Bench, Young, and more.
Are we to the million yet?
The toughest night on television kicks off Monday, 6 p.m. only on ABC.
Finally from us tonight, the power of the image. Over the last decade, 150 million people have become refugees, displaced by war, famine, political strife. Sebastio Salgado is on a quest to document the suffering behind the enormous numbers. He is one of the world's top photojournalists. His latest collection shows why. Here's ABC's Richard Gisbert.
He has spent the better part of 7 years in some of the worst places on Earth, witnessing the most profound human suffering.
People come to my cameras, to my lens, as they were come to a microphone, to speak inside the lens, to tell to the humanity that probably we must change something, that things cannot more happen like this.
They are the world's displaced, its refugees. He is Sebastião Salgado, a Brazilian who almost 30 years ago gave up a promising career as an economist to follow his passion for photography. Now, at the top of his profession, he has traveled to more than 40 countries to document the plight of people on the move. The result? A project entitled Migrations, a collection of images, faces, that continue to haunt him.
Majority of them, probably all of them, came for a stable situation. They had a house, they have a job, and in a moment they have nothing.
Fleeing the massacres in Rwanda, uprooted by ethnic cleansing in Kosovo, or boat people in Vietnam sailing in search of a better life. Salgado has captured it all, the tragedy he calls humanity in motion.
And the number of migrants is so big now that there is nothing in comparison. In this scale, never hadn't happened.
The cause can be war, famine, disasters, or the widening gap between rich and poor. The result this past decade has been 150 million people on the move, seldom by choice.
The older people strike my heart because these people fight all their life for stability, fight all their life to elevate their families, and in a moment they are completely out of their place, no house, no food, no way to live.
And it is that which touches the viewer. Images of children in Sudan hiding from armies that are looking for young recruits. In Brazilian orphanages so crowded there's no place to play. In Angola, Ecuador, Afghanistan. Pictures the photographer hopes might change things by changing us.
My pictures are nothing. By themselves, alone they are nothing. They just raise the question.
He makes it hard to look away. Richard Gisbert, ABC News, London.
And that's our report tonight. Tomorrow on Good Morning America, American workers held hostage on the nation's highways by commuting. I'm Carol Simpson. For all of us, have a good week and good night.
If a football hero accused of murder is news for months, if every Capitol Hill scandal merits weeks of coverage, how much attention do 2.5 million dead merit? It's a story we should have brought you long ago. This week on Nightline, we'd like to make up for that by finally telling you about the beauty and the tragedy of Congo. 3 years, 2.5 million dead. We thought you should know.
This has been a presentation of ABC News. More Americans get their news from ABC News than from any other source.
Raw.
You're going to make the evening news for stalking your ex-wife and using city funds to do it.
You're real.
You taught me.
From the creator of NYPD Blue, Philly, ABC Tuesday, September 18th.
Connecting you to your world, this is K2 News.
Loss of homes is really sad.
The community of Woodburn is still recovering from an apartment fire Friday night. Tonight, investigators say it was children who intentionally set the fire. Good evening, I'm Deanna Connell. Thanks for joining us tonight. Neighbors of that apartment complex say they've complained about people starting fires before this fire ever happened. Vandalism has also been a problem. K2's Karina Allen has the story.
These are the flames that claimed the homes of 80 people Friday night. Investigators now say it was children who intentionally started the fire. Neighbors aren't surprised.
That was the rumor going around that night.
A man who identified himself only as Randy says he was one of the first people to see the flames. And it was then that he noticed one boy acting differently.
And so I ran all the kids out of there, and he was standing way back there, and I saw him, and I ran him off, figuring it probably was him.
But Randy says it wasn't the first time the apartment complex has had these problems. He and other neighbors have called police about the vandalism in the past, but this time was different.
I was told it was gasoline. They had a jar of gasoline back there, and that's what they used.
Even though neighbors saw problems starting and notified police, unfortunately, nothing was done before it was too late.
Friday night, when we arrived, we had...
Jennifer Kilmurray was part of the fire investigation team that confirmed the arson. She says neighbors made the right move by calling police to report vandalism, but she believes they could have done more.
I think there was a lot of issues. It wasn't only fire setting, maybe, other issues that caused the occupants to call the police, and fire setting was probably on the bottom, and they didn't recognize that. And a lot of people don't recognize that as being serious enough to contact anybody.
Now investigators say this is an example of just how much damage a child can do.
Karina Allen reporting. Area fire departments are working together to raise awareness about kids experimenting with fire. For more information on the education resources out there, you can log on to our website at katu.com and then click on the hot link. Firefighters in Turner are worried high winds could make a contained fire pick back up. The fire started last night and quickly grew to 50 acres. Professional loggers were called in to cut down trees to slow the fire from spreading. Nearby homes were evacuated as a precaution, but firefighters managed to contain 80% of the fire before it reached any structures. Crews are hoping to contain that fire tonight. Rescue crews have called off the search for a foreign exchange student who has been missing for nearly a week. Coralie Orsi was camping with friends on Mount Hood in the Cloud Cap area when he went on